So we're making a journey, we're starting from scratch. The goal is to get at some point to a scratch handicap. We're sort of a third of the way through that journey and you're still with us, which is good. All right, we've understood there are three disciplines. We prepare, we coil and release. True for the novice, true for the intermediate and true for the pro. What's happening is we're getting more and more skilled. Now I ask people, what's the difference in inches between a tour pro and a 28 handicapper? And people look at me like a mule looking at a new gate. So I explain to them, here is the pre-shot routine of a professional. In 6 inches, 2 in the wrists, 2 in the chin and 2 in the knees, I look like a 28 handicapper. Okay? Let's look at that again. This is professional. In 6 inches, 2, 2 and 2, I'm 28 handicap. I look awful. Okay, so the devil's in the detail. So I would say, fairly categorically, that for all of us there's an optimum posture, distance from the ball, angle of spine, ball position, according to the club. Okay, so I think it's possible to learn a setup to near perfection. And I think that's broadly true of the backswing as well. So if I go up to a tree with an axe, I look quite comfortable. I'm not going to be there or there to look uncomfortable. This is good posture, sit down or whatever, you can see. So this is optimal posture. Now, in terms of hitting the tree with the axe or the baseball swing, this would be optimal backswing. This would be above plane and this would be below plane. So I would be fairly adamant in saying that for every human being, it is possible to acquire a really perfect pre-shot routine, posture, grip and ball position. And I think you can get pretty near to perfection mechanically with the backswing. The thing that I would say about the downswing and through swing is that that is an art. There's 1,000 ways to skin that cat. So I wouldn't be dogmatic or hard line about the downswing. I think it's a judgment call of you as the player, as the pupil and your coach. So you have to make informed decisions. Okay, now if I did a poll of 100 pros, what starts the down swing and through swing, I'd get a myriad number of answers, and that's why I'm saying it can't be a science. So let me give you my take on it. I personally believe that once you've gone through your pre-shot routine, you then create your power through your left shoulder. And I don't believe in worrying about the swing. I believe I'm defined by sending the ball forward. Okay, I sent the ball towards the flag. On that occasion, I pulled it. Now, when you see photographs or video film of players, it's obvious to most of us that while the club's at the top of the backswing in transition, the hips and the legs have started. And I think when you see a photograph of that, it can make you think that the hips and the legs start the downswing. I personally think it's a reflex motion that happens ahead of the hand action. But Ben Hogan believed in clearing the left hip, and I would never contradict Mr. Hogan. If it's good enough for him, it needs to be considered by us. So, I believe good players could prepare and coil, and I believe they could hit shots by clearing the hip. You wouldn't know from looking, but I started my downswing with hip clearance. Now, for most club golfers, the ball goes to the right. They fade it, and hip clearance would accentuate that. So in the developmental stages, the novice and intermediate stages, I'd be getting my players to load the shoulder and then release the club through the hands. Again, you won't be able to see much of a difference, but I know that I prepared, coiled and used my hands to hit it. The previous shot to that, I prepared, coiled and I cleared my hips. So, I don't think there's a wrong way or a right way, but I think it's a spectrum really. So, let's suppose I'm going to hit a draw shot. Okay, bog standard draw. I go through my routine. I would turn my shoulder under my throat, and then I would hit a draw shot. Now, because I've hit a draw shot, I've been obliged to keep my body angle into the follow through. Can you see that? So the ball's landed softly by the pin, and I'm still in this sense of posture at the end. Now, one of the greatest controllers of a golf ball that ever lived, who's still with us, Lee Trevino, he was a fader, and his movement involved a body motion up and to the left. And David Ledbetter gave a diluted version of that to Nick Faldo, and it won Faldo 6 majors. So here we go. Prepare as normal, coil as normal, but I'm going to hit you a fade. So you can see the ball cutting in flight, landing soft. It doesn't go as far as the draw. That's why I'm in the bunker. Okay, but you saw that as I hit the shot, my body came up and around. So that's why, if you've got fade shots and draw shots, you're going to get idiosyncrasies and changes according to that type of movement. Great Canadian golfer Mo Norman, he had the club in his arms in a straight line, incredible player, went back with no wrist and hit it. He had his own way of doing it, and he was as great a player and striker of the golf ball as has ever walked on this planet. Tom Watson would go and watch Mo Norman practice. That's how good Mo Norman was. So when you look at the myriad number of players, I think it's obvious if you took Tiger Swings and compared it to Bubba Watson's or Louis Westhuizen's to Jim Furyk's, you can't prescribe the same teaching for all those if they were your pupil. You have to understand principles and you have to understand choices. So I would say the pre-shot routine is a given. I would say that a backswing is pretty much a given. But in the downswing, it might be a hip clearance. It might be dropping the arms. It might even be using the chest. I know coaches that use all those types of movements. But as long as you have informed choice, then you're safe. What you don't want to do is mix fade spin doctrine with draw spin doctrine. You'll double cross the shots. You have to understand that if you're a fade spinner or a draw spinner, your swing is going to have idiosyncrasies that favour those movements, and they can't be identical. We're different in our physiques. We've got 13 clubs in the bag. We've got different methodologies. There's no such thing as the perfect movement. Even if there was, it would look totally different according to the physique of the player.